Close? Gotcha. Who's starting off? Am I starting off? All right, we are live. Are we live? We good. Okay, what's going on, guys? You're watching on YouTube Live, probably on Condor Blue and my channel. I got Craig over here from Blackmagic Design. You are the...
I am the Technical Sales Director for EMEA, so I'm out of the European office, here supporting our guys in the US with all the releases at NAB, and I principally work around cameras and workflow productions, product education, workflow analysis and support like that, and getting out and meeting guys that want to use our products and our technologies.
Perfect. So basically what Craig said is he's the perfect person to ask about the brand new Blackmagic Pixi 6K.
I'd hope so.
Which
right.
I should probably stop holding this like a football, but it's so
right.
compact and it's so small. But
Tuck it in and throw out, bows out. Right?
You know what? I could protect this, make sure no one tackles me. But I wanted to ask a lot of things because one, I'm super excited. I think one of the things that Blackmagic did so well was listening to their customers on some of those pain points. Right. With coming out with the form factor that a lot of people really, really wanted, and I think that's one of the more exciting parts about it. But tell me a little bit about, and if you can tell me, about some of the design choices. I mean, people are kind of all over the place with it in terms of their reaction. I'm excited about it, but kind of tell me what the logic was.
Right, so we knew first of all we wanted to get into a full frame sensor position, so that's what we delivered last year with the 6K full frame sensor. So you've got a fantastic 6K open gate platform. So then we introduced anamorphic on a very small, affordable camera system. That was built around the pocket camera body and the family of those devices. We knew we wanted to progress that. We listened. We heard that people, you wanted a box-style camera and everything they'd offer. So when we went to the design around this, it was really about how could we take that sensor and embed it into a new camera that gives you all of that riggability, if that's a word, the adaptability, create something that's a small, robust camera platform that you can build around that gives you the choice. So then you could be on gimbals, you can be on drones, you can fly this on cranes and jibs as you need to, but then still wrapped around that phenomenal 6K sensor that we had. So what we have in the design is probably a little bit of an extended cube that has multiple mount points. We've got our own grip and handle options for it, but something that's going to be small and light that you can then use as you feel you need to for those mobile or sort of handheld scenarios as well.
That's awesome, and it is very light. Like, I mean, as much as I'm kind of just manhandling this thing, the camera itself, for the size that it is very light. And I love the fact that there's so many mounting points on it without necessarily needing a cage. Yeah. But like realistically, and this is one of my questions is, were these cameras made with the idea that people were going to rig them out in mind?
I think principally, yeah.
Yeah.
So two areas really. You want small, light handhelds, so you might be using gimbals and stabilizers. So you want the camera to have a very small, compact nature, rather than say some of the other cameras we've had have been broader than they are long and they don't really fit to the plates and the mounts as well. Or you may be putting it on drone. You may be putting it onto something that's more of a jib or an arm. So again, you still want the camera to be lightweight and be able to rig around it and build. So the design for us really was thinking about how you could use that compact nature.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have a question, and this is one of the big ones I think a lot of people asked about, is the choice on the monitor on the side. Now, I know if that's the AC side, and most people would have a monitor on their camera builds when it's built out. Yeah. The choice to kind of leave it compact to the body rather than a hinge, but it's cool because it has a locking button, so if you don't want to press any of the buttons by accident, you could use that. But I think one of my questions were, is there a way to kind of cover that side of it? Because if I'm shooting handheld, and I'm right-handed, that's on my inside leg, and I might ding the screen. Right. I guess twofold question is, what was the design choice on the screen, and is there a thing that Blackmagic could come up with, like even something as simple as like a tempered glass screen that's still touchable, like that's still touch controllable? Are those two things that you guys are considering?
Well, so the first of all, from a design point of view, to have a fold-out screen with an articulation would change the design of the product. It would make it heavier. It would change the power draw of the system as well, and it would just change the balance of the camera. So I think early on in the design concept, the decision was made that we wanted a monitor that had all of the functionality. It's touchscreen, so it uses all the Blackmagic OS, so we've got all the menu systems in there, but keep that flush to the body. So again, naturally, if this camera is more likely to be rigged or to put into systems, it's there as maybe a screen for reference and for menu and setup, but you're probably going to be monitoring, checking focus and your compositional shots either in an EVF or on an off-board monitor. So that was the first thought, that we went down that route first of all, knowing that the camera style of it being a box is you're probably going to monitor it externally or off camera. That's why you've got a 12 gig SDI output on the back as well. So you've got the camera video output directly available to you. And then also you'll have seen that we've announced the new Ursa Cine EVF which is partnered to the larger Ursa Cine camera, which is the big brother of this camera. But you can use that EVF with the Pixis. So we use a USB-C port that gives us data, display, and power to the EVF. So you can then use our EVF with this, with the top handle and the new mounting systems as well. So we built a system we think gives you the options between the monitoring and the setup for you. In terms of protection, nothing I'm aware of right now in terms of what we would offer to protect that side monitor. I presume that some rig manufacturers out there might come up with some solutions for us. It's certainly something we could look at.
Some rig manufacturers might come out with some things to help protect the screen on the Pixis.
Well, there's a challenge, maybe.
It'd be so nice if we were at a place that could make those type of products.
Right.
And it's awesome. I think it's really cool. I think in a word, and I guess in a sentence, I guess, who was the ideal customer for the Pixis?
Well, it kind of goes back to what we have in our heart as a camera developer, is we've always had the intention of bringing high-level Hollywood technologies down into an affordable, accessible price point, right? And this camera reflects that, in that we work a lot with independent filmmakers from graduate level all the way through to small upcoming companies that work in corporate, work in commercials, music videos, documentary production. Very much aimed at those individuals where they want an affordable system, they don't want to compromise on quality. And what we build here is a camera that has a ton of production capable features in terms of the technical hardware, the performance of the sensor, but then also what we offer from a lens into post-production point of view. So we're a camera manufacturer that also has the technologies and the IP around DaVinci Resolve. So we bring all of that performance and power into a really affordable camera system, whether that's maybe your first digital film camera, or maybe you've had previous Blackmagic cameras, or you see something in this that you've not tried for the first time. So that's really where we're placing this camera right now.
Now, in terms of I guess that same customer, because that's the same customers like the Pocket 4K, the 6K, stuff like that, is the Pixis kind of format the future of that ecosystem? Like, is the Pixis kind of going to work alongside the Blackmagic kind of pocket size camera, or is this going to be going forward what that pocket camera, that first foray into Blackmagic camera, is it going to look like the Pixis, or is it going to be more things out later?
No, I think what we have is a nice choice. So if you want more of a handheld, body handheld system that's more like a mirrorless camera platform, then that's what the pocket camera is always intended to be. And we've got some fantastic choices in there, up to the 6K Pro, which is a phenomenal sensor. It's a different sensor to this one, with it not Super 35 based, whereas this is obviously full frame. What Pixis brings to us is that middle ground. So we have the Super 35, sensor size in the modular box camera system, and then the next step up is going into our Ursa Cine products, where there is a different camera platform entirely.
Wait, now you mentioned that it's a different sensor. Now, is it a different sensor from the 6K full frame, or is it the same sensor as that?
No, so it's the same sensor as the 6K full frame.
Gotcha.
So it's dual ISO. It's got all the open gate capability into 4K DCI down into HD. But it is a different sensor. Say if you're looking at the pocket camera 6K,
gotcha.
That's a Super 35 sensor.
So then, technically, if you wanted to build out kind of if you wanted to try to build out a kit, you could technically use the 6K full frame as your sticks, dolly, slider camera, because the sensor's the same, they should match up together.
Yeah.
And then for gimbal operation or rigging other things to it, another grip, that would be your Pixis instead of getting a second full frame. And then you can still have it, and it's relatively the same price too. So if you get two cameras, you can just pick two of them, and now you don't necessarily have to pick one or the other. And at that price point, you're still very close to some of the other cinema cameras that are available as well.
Yeah, and what's key for us as well is the color science that we deliver through all of our cameras is all currently Blackmagic Color Science Gen 5. So in terms of matching and performance and capability, maybe you already own the pocket camera, maybe you already bought the cinema camera 6K. If you're interested in the Pixis, you'll be able to shoot with that camera, and they're cousins. So the Blackmagic RAW technology is the same inside of this camera. Gen 5 color science means that you're going to have the ability to just match and pair these cameras out in DaVinci Resolve instantly.
That's awesome. Now, what's next, I guess, for the Blackmagic ecosystem? You guys came out swinging. I think it's one of the very few camera releases that are at NAB with 3 new cameras, right? Two of them got announced with their pricing. There's a 65 millimeter camera, which I don't know if it's at the booth. I'm not too sure yet.
Not really.
But the new Ursa, we haven't even got into the new Ursa yet, which I'm really excited for people that want that step up. And what I find about the new Ursa was it improved on the things that people might have had gripes with on the first version. And we were talking before we got on air that you mentioned that it came out during the pandemic. But I think that might have been not the worst thing in the world because it gives you the opportunity to improve on things. So this is almost like the Ursa you always wanted. So do you want to talk a little bit about the Ursa, just because we've kind of hammered the Pixis all the way through?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. The Ursa Cine represents for us the camera that we want as our dream cinema camera. And Grant, in our release, when he announced the camera, said exactly that. The guys, when they drew up what they wanted in our leading and our best performing camera, was the best camera we've ever made, no holds bar. And we've done that from the sensor and the development we've built around it, the changes to the body, using the Ursa Mini platform, if you will, but building it out, connectivity, power, performance, interconnectivity into post-production. We covered all the bases we could think of. But then principally, cameras being cameras, it's the sensor, it's at the heart of the technology. And what we're building here is the next generation of our RGB-based sensors. So the Ursa 12K was probably a great product, but at the wrong time. And like everybody else in the industry, during the pandemic, we had to adapt, you know, to keep going and support customers in different ways. We managed to get that camera in the hands of a number of productions. We got some great feedback on it. The 12K resolution was fantastic. Its delivery at 8K was phenomenal. We worked with a number of VFX houses. And there was a lot of response and feedback about how the RGB system worked as well. We've taken all that into the new Ursa Cine and built a sensor that's now a large format, but built around that 12K resolution with 8K and 4K delivery that gives you RGB. And what we think is really vital in there is it's not a Bayer-based system, which has a non-symmetrical readout. RGB means that we have greater color uniformity. We have better image fidelity when we take through to DaVinci Resolve. So if you're shooting in 4K, you might be thinking, well, why do I need a 12K camera? That's crazy. But you could shoot in 12K, and effectively you've almost like 4K resolution in RGB.
Yeah.
Because we're tripling that out. So you get incredible performance depending on what you want to shoot on.
And I think that's what, like, one of the things I noticed with the 12K. I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to really export in 12K. I think they're going to downsample it to whatever they want to. And the fact that you can do that, and at the bare minimum, you still have a very high resolution image with a lot of information to it that you could push and pull around. That makes a lot more sense, because if you start off, say, at like 6K and you pull that down, then you're pulling more pixels down from 6K. But from 12, you're always going to get as much as what you need.
Yeah, one of the really interesting technologies we have in the 12K sensor is when you shoot at 8K or 4K, you're still getting full sensor width. So we're doing in-camera sensor scaling.
Oh.
So if you were to work in 4K, you're not getting any lens crop by taking that resolution change. We're using the full width, but because of the design of the RGB sensor, we can do scaling on the sensor to deliver that for you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So, and these are the technologies that the sensor offers that I think maybe the first time around people didn't realize. And we were all kind of struggling to what production meant 2, 3, 4 years ago. So with the new camera, we're keen to try to get people to understand what it offers. You can shoot higher frame rates as you drop your resolution, but you don't lose your focal range, so you can match your lenses. If you want to work in 8K and test that out, you've got a camera that supports it. If you need full plate 12K, you've got something in there that if you were delivering 4K DCR, you've got massive scale of resolution. You actually pan and scan in post-production as well.
I didn't know you could do that. I think that the Ursa, is one of the systems I've never used.
Right.
And I think just because there's so many systems out there, and at that scalable of a camera, like, you kind of always find yourself in an ecosystem. But I feel like a lot of people watching didn't know that about the Ursa 12K.
Yeah.
And is that just exclusive to the Cine, or was that on the original Ursa as well?
That was on the original Ursa 12K.
Yeah.
So the in-camera sensor scaling, the ability to take 12K frames, deliver to 4K, do pan and scanning, or drop down to 4K if that was just your preferred, is the same. So we've kept those features. What we have done is obviously the sensor's now larger. So we've bumped the dynamic range. The original sensor was 14 stops. The new sensor is 16 stops.
Okay.
So we've got a lot more improvement in latitude. And also then in DaVinci Resolve, you have a highlight recovery system. So you can even probably go further than that and do some more latitude and highlight recovery in DaVinci as well from that sensor. So we know that this sensor outperforms everything we've ever done.
That's awesome. I'm going to bring it back to the Pixis, mostly because I know the answer to this, or the logical answer to it, but people are going to ask. ND filters.
Okay, yeah.
When are we going to get a built-in ND on the 6K sensor? I know it's a new sensor for Blackmagic, so I can understand that that's hard to put in. But what are some of the, limitations that might be maybe later down the road versus something that came out today?
It's always a choice, again, around design and we want the camera to be. We have ND filters in multiple cameras, in the Pocket family, in the Ursa family. For Pixis, it was more of, again, a design choice. And there's that trade-off where you go down one route compared to the other. The thought here being that if you're going to use Pixis, you may be preferring maybe a lens variable that you can add or maybe you're going to rig this out, and probably more rigged out as a digital cinema camera. So you're going to put a matte box in a tray on there, and then choose the NDs that you want. Your NDs might be variable. You might have certain, maybe an IR cut that you want to put in. So we went down that route, and I know a lot of people will look at the camera and go, look, I'm going to need an ND for fast response. Maybe when I go out and lighting conditions change, we totally understand that. But sometimes we have to make a hard choice.
Yeah. And
so we went one route.
And sometimes there's just a new camera of that same type that comes out later, and we just have to wait for those things.
There's always the potential, right?
Yeah.
And I think we'd like to think as well that with Pixis, it shows we listen. We knew people wanted this particular camera body. We're always open to suggestion. We listen to customers. We're here at NAB.
Yeah.
We've got our product managers have come all the way from Australia to be part of the show, not just to announce the products, but to listen to what people want and we take those ideas back.
And I think that's the greatest part about it, right? The fact that the camera was announced, and when I saw the posters outside, I thought it was fake. I'm like, oh, no way Blackmagic released a new camera. But the fact that not only is it out, you can come to NAB, you can see it, and you get that live feedback, so you really know. So some people, and I think it's hard to equate comments on the internet to what actual feedback is from users, right?
Right.
But when you have people come in and say, hey, you know what, I really wish maybe it had HDMI and SDI, and then it's a note. You could be like, oh, you know what, okay, that makes sense. Like, we'll consider seeing how we can do that. Or how many people really do need built-in NDs and don't already have them.
Right.
How many people aren't going to rig out the camera, and if we have to change how that box design works, right? I think the idea that you're able to see it now and it's announced, and there's so much coverage on it right now. I think it's definitely a polarizing release. There's some people that are in love with it. Some people have their own criticisms, and I think both are valid because it gives you a realistic look on what things look like for you, and B, some things you get to take notes from, right? And I find with Blackmagic, for better or for worse, and camera companies release cameras all the time, but it's a good way to show, okay, well, we've taken notes, and now we're going to come back and we're going to give you closer to what you want, closer to being perfect. But I think this is a big step. I think a lot of people are very excited about it. There's a ton of, I kind of said it before, the filmmaker that I was 3 years ago I would die. I would kill to get one of these. And it came a long way, and the fact that it came such a long way from those systems in terms of what pain points were and the improvements, the person that I was 3 years ago probably exists today. And I think that's who I might think it's for, and might be for those people, and I think they're going to be excited about it a lot, man.
Yeah, look, we're excited to see what people do with the camera.
Yeah.
We bring it to the show, we know what it is, we get a buzz before we come here and we get it all set up, but then to understand from customers, we see what's online and we get it, it's polarizing. The camera's either for you or it isn't for you. There's no such thing as a perfect camera. And cameras as well, compared to all the other technologies we see at this show, are so subjective because they're an extension of you as a creative, right? You're going to have a look, a feel. You need to interact more physically with the camera than you do most other technologies. So we understand that people have ways and products they're happy with, brands that they like, things that they prefer. We build what we can.
Yeah.
We build it based on what we feel to be the best we can offer. We don't compromise in certain things, and that's about the technologies. The quality that we want from the sensor through to post-production. Blackmagic Raw is the codec, DaVinci Resolve is the delivery. Maybe sometimes we miss a feature. Maybe sometimes, we go, second generation, we'll add those things in.
Yeah.
But we're always going to learn. And for us as well, we're still on a journey about how to be a camera manufacturer. We've only been making cameras in this market space and for digital filmmakers for 12 years now. I
don't think people realize that, and I don't know if it's for sure, but Blackmagic's one of the smaller companies. In terms of the camera space, but you're also coming out with cameras just as competitively as everybody else is. So when cameras do come out, there is a little bit you're learning just as much as we are. Right. Which is a great thing because it again going back to improving on that ecosystem. It shows the willingness to learn and make new things and not be afraid to take chances on certain things for better or for worse, right?
Absolutely. Look, you could look back at the history of the cameras that we've made. Have we made some cameras that weren't quite right? Yeah, quite probably. Have we missed opportunities with some features or technologies that would have improved previous cameras? Again, probably. So yeah, we learn, we listen. We think with the Pixis and we think with the Ursa Mini, these are two of the best cameras we've ever made. We think we know that they answer a lot of questions that our customers want. And we're really proud to bring them. And then, as we say, the excitement now is to take this with some DOPs to get on set. We spend a lot of time doing education and training around the cameras and products as well, all the way from film graduates up into production. So it's just going to be really exciting, maybe 6 months to see where this camera goes, first of all. I'm
so excited. Actually, we got Terry here from Blackmagic as well. My question for you, and I'll say it to the screen. When am I going to get one?
Soon. Nobody wants a PR guy.
No, come on.
Soon as humanly possible.
You heard it first, guys.
I heard him say it.
I want to get my hands on this guy. I want to play around with it, see how it goes. You guys might not have heard that, but they said Canadians get preferential treatment. So if you see me with a Pixis running around in the next 2 weeks, mind your business. Do you have any questions for creators? I guess I don't know if you have, like, as a camera company, what are some of the things that you guys want to know, or some of the feedback you want to know from the Pixis specifically in terms of things you kind of put out, but you weren't necessarily sure about what the market was going to decide on?
Right. Maybe two or three certain areas. We can't change the hardware of the product necessarily through it, but if operationally, if there are things in the camera that we can improve that you learn from in terms of it, formats and workflow. How do you see the camera working for you as a creative in particular spaces? Is there formats and resolutions that are maybe missing in there that we take feedback from? And then what we really, really enjoy is seeing what do you make with it. What content. We're all sort of struggling, conflicted creatives that work at Blackmagic because I don't do your job. I don't get to go out and make stuff anymore, really. We come from production, so we're frustrated by that. But what we really love and seeing is the content that gets made. So share it, tag it, let Terry know about it. So from a PR point of view, we can just evangelize that stuff. And I love getting involved in productions and going back onto sets and being involved. So we love to hear from feedback in terms of what can the camera do and perform, good and bad. But then we love to know what you've shot with it. We love to know the projects and the productions that get made.
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be so much fun to actually see this camera kind of go through its paces. I took the full frame 6K to Ghana with me, and when I was using it immediately, like even just looking at the back of the screen, I was like, oh, I understand. I understand the image quality that's not being skimped on. And the solutions with, say, for example, the battery grip was another showing of Blackmagic listening. The battery life didn't last as long, and then having having 3 batteries, great image quality, and being able to use something like things like gyro data to even things out because it doesn't have built-in IBIS and stuff like that. There's so many things, so many little things that I don't think people realize with that camera. The fact that it's now an upgraded version for it, and the encouragement to get on sets. I think that's a big thing. I don't, as much as every company hopes that people shoot films on it, the outright encouragement for it at the forefront, you don't hear as much. There's kind of this is this product, read the sheet, tell everybody it's great, and that's the end all be all. Where even talking to everybody at Blackmagic back at the booth, most people there were like, no, we want to see what you film with it. And funnily enough, I think we have a film in about a month that we're doing with the whole creator crew, and I think we will be using the Blackmagic cameras. Actually, somebody might have suggested we blow one up or crash it into stuff.
And you'll have a Pixis by then. You've been right.
Hey, y'all really heard that first. They said by the time we shoot this film, we'll have one of these guys on us. But I think that's cool. I think it's really cool that the use case first, use it first, and don't necessarily believe everything you see on a spec sheet before actually trying the camera out beforehand.
And I think as well, going back to rigging on the right hand side of the camera, you've got a cheese board plate or a cheese plate area for it. So it comes with a standard mount. You'll see the pictures online. There's an optional cheese plate that you can put on there. There's another one which is a sort of Velcro strapped if you're using offboard USB-C. We're already having conversations on the booth as to what else could we put on that side of the camera. So again, maybe with, if there's some rigging manufacturers out here and they want to build out the camera, if there's specialist things that we need to put in, we've got some options on the camera that we could apply as well.
You could even probably, because I know the focus assist, the monitors kind of went down and dipped in prices a little bit. Manufacturing, even if you want to go double-sided monitor, might not be far off if you want to mount it to the cheese plate.
There's possibles in the future.
Yeah, so there's a ton of options. I think that's the best thing that you can do with a lot of these new cameras is give people enough flexibility that you can make new options, and that way you don't have to A, worry about having to redesign the wheel all the time, and B, the people that already have these cameras that are in these systems can build upon it and it can grow with you, rather than having to feel like you have to make a move every single time something comes out.
Yeah, and likewise what we do as well, maybe like with the guys at Condor Blue, we'll give recommendations. If we don't make it, we're going to direct you to the guys that have taken the product, taken our design, and then built the accessories that we don't do. So it isn't just, look, there's the Blackmagic product, and you go away in the world and decide what you need. Certainly back in the European office with my guys, we'll work with productions as to go, okay, what is it you're trying to do? If you want to mount it on a car, okay, well, what kind of limpet systems do we need, and what kind of mounting do we get going? We don't make it, but let's help design that for you. So.
I have a question for you. Is there, because there's an EF mount and an L mount, what are the possibilities of maybe in the future of getting into autofocus? Because those are mirrorless mounts.
Yeah.
Is there, like in EF mounts, obviously they have autofocus stuff. Is there a plan for the future to maybe integrate some form of autofocus and some of these interchangeable mount lenses?
We've considered it. It's probably more of a question for the engineering guys.
Yeah.
We know it's a question that comes around at every trade show and at every conversation. It's something we've looked at. It's something we would like to implement into the cameras, but we haven't taken that step just yet.
Gotcha.
It's not a technology that's necessarily difficult for us to implement, but I think we need to do it in the right way and for the right reasons.
That makes sense. That's awesome, man. I have no idea what time it is. I don't know if we went over time. We went over, didn't we? Brady's looking at me right over here. He's looking at me like you got to start soon. Brady said I'm the most beautiful man he's ever seen, which means he might be vision impaired, but who knows? I'm just playing. Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, man, Craig, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. That was awesome.
Shout out to Blackmagic. Shout out to Condor Blue. I think this is one of the most exciting releases at this show today, and I think there are so many people that are going to be excited about it, and I think it's a great way to find out what really people can do with this, because I think right now, because it's not out yet, we're just reading spec sheets, but I could say from just kind of playing around with it, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, we love it. Thank you.
Perfect, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you guys for watching in. Thank you guys for tuning in. This will probably be posted on the replay. If you guys want to see it, you guys can go and watch it. Probably on Condor Blue and my channel as well. But we'll see you guys in the next one. But I'm keeping this.
Ecosystem is equipped with every mounting accessory or adapter